Airlines will not hike fares amidst the pileup of grounded Boeing 737 MAX planes hours after India joins the wave of countries to ban the 737. Aviation regulator says operators have agreed to not indulge in predatory pricing. The regulator will also set up a special cell to monitor complaints due to disruption of several flights. The Defence Ministry files an affidavit in Supreme Court in the Rafale case, claiming the petitioners put national security at risk by sharing sensitive information and classified documents in the review petition. The court will take the matter up tomorrow. I have no problem with the government investigating my brother-in-law Robert Vadra, but the Prime Minister needs to be investigated as well in the Rafale case, asserts Rahul Gandhi amidst the heating election campaign. The Congress party chief promises to reserve a third of government jobs for women if voted to power. The deployment of central forces and polling booths will be an insult to West Bengal, asserts Mamata Banerjee, hitting out the BJP's appeal to the poll panel to declare Bengal a super-sensitive state to ensure fair elections. The Bengal chief minister claims that the BJP is afraid of losing in Bengal. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra meets Bhim Army chief Chandrasekhar Azad a day after he was arrested by the Uttar Pradesh police for violating the Model Code of Conduct. Priyanka says she admires the spirit of Chandrasekhar Azad, popularly called Ravan. The government wants to cripple him for raising his voice for the Dalit community. Is an alliance brewing there? Hours before the UN Security Council takes up a resolution on designating Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist, Minister of External Affairs Sushma Swaraj says UNSC is ineffective and that Pakistan must surrender Azhar. Comments come in even as China continues to play hardball, hints at how it intends to block the move once again. Azim Premji increases his commitment to philanthropy. The Wipro chairman earmarks an additional 34% of his shares in the tech company to philanthropy, taking his total contribution to a staggering 1.45 lakh crore rupees. Indian batsmen fall like 9 pins against Australia in the 5th one-day international match. Australia scored 272 after winning the toss and decide to bat first in the series decider. This is India's last one-day international before the 2019 World Cup. It's always good to get the person in the hot seat and the man who can answer all questions on the ongoing controversy about 737, India's decision to ground it, and what happens next. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Jayant Sinha, Minister of Civil Aviation, who joins us all the way from his constituency in Hazaribagh. And looking from your gear, you are really in the heat and dust of Indian politics. But thanks very much for taking time out and speaking to us on a subject that obviously you've taken a decision on. Very quickly, without wasting time, the regulator late last night announced that all Boeing 737 MAX 8 will be grounded in India. There are two quick questions. Why did it take so long, given that security should have been paramount? And many people believe this decision was taken due to the public outcry.
No, that's not true at all, Supriya. We have been monitoring the situation on the 737 MAX right after the Lion Air crash in Indonesia. And even after that, we had put in place some additional safety protocols to ensure that we had taken all the necessary steps to ensure passenger safety. So we had done that right after Lion Air. And then, of course, when the Ethiopian crash happened, the safety regulators or the policymakers in the ministry, all of us have been following what has been happening very closely. We have been in discussions with the airlines. We have been in discussions with the regulators around the world. And, of course, we have been looking to make sure that we had the right measures in place to be able to ground the aircraft, take whatever necessary steps are required to fix it, and then bring it back up again if we felt that they were safe. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing it in an orderly way. We were doing it in a way that was consistent with what regulators around the world were doing. And so when we were reassured that we had all of that in place, that's when we took the decision. But of course, we have been monitoring it continuously all along.
No, fair point indeed, sir. But before I go any further, what finally made you make the decision? I know you were speaking to regulators, but it was a technical decision so to make in favor of grounding the aircraft. There is still no conclusive data which proves what is particularly wrong. with this make of the Boeing aircraft. So what finally made you take a decision? Just to be the devil's advocate, are you being preemptive? Are you being knee-jerk? I've got to get every side covered, and which is why I'm asking you a question. What finally made you make the decision?
No, we had to consider all sides of the issue. We had to make sure that it was a measured decision that obviously put safety first, but also ensured that when we took the decision, we knew what to do about these planes. And that's essentially what we needed conviction around. And of course, as that matter became clearer to regulators around the world, they started to obviously put in their restrictions, their decision to ground. And then once we had that confidence ourselves, and we knew exactly what to do, that's when we took the decision and we moved forward. And these are, of course, very technical matters. We had to be talking to the technical experts, and it was a decision made by the technical experts, by the safety experts, that prompted this decision.
Okay, Mr. Sinha, one of the things that is being said is that through the course of this exercise, was corporate, were Indian corporates and Indian airline operators adding to pressure to not take the decision, which is why the delay. We had Australia, Indonesia, South America, a lot of countries there, UK, take decisions before we did. Just to get the record straight, obviously there was commercial interest involved, but the criticism is that perhaps commercial interest was delaying the decision on this.
Absolutely not. As I said, these are technical matters. We have to have the safety experts make sure they know exactly what is happening, make sure that they have taken the right decision. And so we had to wait for the technical experts to provide us that input. And once that input was clear, it was clear what needed to be done. That's when the policy decision was taken. But this is purely a technical matter. When it comes to safety, the only thing we think about is how to keep passengers safe, to ensure that we have absolute safety in our skies, and those are the only considerations we have. So I will reject any statements about any other commercial interest or any of that coming into the picture. This is done purely on a technical basis to ensure that we are optimizing and ensuring the utmost as far as passenger safety is concerned. And every regulator around the world is taking that into account and working through those issues.
Mr. Sinha, because you're not just somebody who's campaigning in Hazaribagh or looks into civil aviation just closely here in India, you also have a lot of global exposure. And, top 10 countries by air passenger travel, barring the US and Japan, have actually banned the 737. Is it any surprise that the US hasn't moved on this, because Boeing is a very prestigious US company, and should at all the Indian regulator now in the foreseeable future look at what the FAA is going to do?
No, you are speculating on a lot of different issues, Supriya, which I don't want to get into. Again, I will reiterate, these are technical safety matters. It is the engineers, it is the safety experts that take these decisions. And once they are clear, once they're sure on these technical matters, we go with their judgment on these issues. So, it really doesn't matter which country is doing what, what the FAA is saying. Once our technical experts and technical experts around the world are clear on the matter, then we move swiftly and decisively, which is exactly what we did.
Mr. Sinha, we can't have this discussion without talking about the consumer angle to all of this. And you're somebody who sees this more objectively. You're in some sort of an insider as well. You have an outsider's perspective to this. How is this entire ban going to impact the aviation market? I mean, SpiceJet, which primarily operates 12 aircraft, has a market share of 13%. Jet's air fleet is grounded for different reasons, but 737 is grounded. How is this going to impact the landscape as far as Indian aviation is concerned in terms of what happens next?
Well, there are obviously short-term as well as long-term implications, Supriya, that we have to think about. In the short term, please recognize we are in the lean season right now. And so demand is a little softer than it is once we get into the busy season. So any capacity that's out of the system right now, whether it is because of the grounding of the 737 MAX, whether it is because the Neo engines haven't come in, and remember we are replacing those Neo engines as well, another important safety matter that we've acted decisively on, or whether it is the planes from certain airlines that have been grounded because of commercial considerations. There is capacity that has left the system right now, but we are able to deal with it because we are in the lean season, and so we can handle that. There will be some disruptions as they've happened today, of course, and will happen tomorrow, but by and large, because we are in the lean season in the short term, we should be able to deal with that. So that is, over the next month or two, the way the situation is going to develop. When we think about it longer term, do recognize that we are bringing in planes rather quickly. The successful players in the industry right now are adding to their fleets very rapidly, and so when this additional capacity starts coming into the system, we will be able to provide additional flights, and I think there will be sufficient capacity in the system. So the short run, we are fortunate that we are in the lean season. In the long run, with all this additional capacity coming in, we should be able to get through that. But all of our efforts are there to ensure that planes are back into the system as quickly as possible, that we're doing it safely, and that passenger convenience is obviously optimized through this whole process.
Okay, very quickly, sir, I agree with you on the short-term and the long-term, scenarios, but with the grounding of the MAX, about 70-80 departures could be affected. The fear is that fares will skyrocket, and you've been always of the view that flying has to be a viable travel option. So how are you going to ensure that? The DGCA has said it will review fares over the next 2 days. Airlines have apparently agreed not to raise fares, but can the regulator realistically step in?
Well, the market is going to operate in a very orderly fashion. As you know, Supriya, our fares are among the most affordable in the world. We have been working with the airlines. There was a very important meeting with the airlines that the Secretary of Civil Aviation, Shri Kharola, took today. And we are working with the airlines to ensure that the disruptions that we have right now are dealt with in an orderly way, in a smooth manner, so that there isn't anything that happens unnecessarily in terms of driving up fares. And we are quite confident, like I said, that in the lean season we'll be able to absorb this. So I think we'll be fine as far as that is concerned. Like I said, it is of course a competitive market, and so there will be ups and downs. But as soon as more capacity keeps coming in, and the successful competitors keep growing their fleets, we will continue to see the excellent growth and the excellent service that we have been seeing in the aviation sector over the last few years.
Mr. Sinha, the reason why I asked you the question is because pricing should be decided by market forces, and in this case we will perhaps see the government step in, which is why I asked you the question. But is there a timeline in mind to put these aircraft back in air? Earlier in the day you've been quoted to say that unless security modifications are made, it is not going to happen. Have you heard from Boeing? Have you heard from the aircraft manufacturer on that front at all? And what sort of modifications is India really looking at?
So I'll answer both those observations, Supriya. Coming back again to prices, like I said, we are in the lean season. There's additional capacity coming in. We are hopeful that the planes that have been grounded for other reasons like the Neo and so on come back in as soon as they're modified and ready to go. So we think markets will be orderly. We think fares will remain affordable. Of course, if anything happens, we will talk to the airlines to see how we can keep bringing in more capacity so that fares remain among the most affordable in the world. So that's as far as pricing is concerned. And obviously, as the policymaker, as the regulator, we watch what is happening in markets. If there's anything that's moving in a very untoward way, we obviously look at it and understand what it is that can be done to add capacity and to make things much more reasonable again. So those matters are being monitored very closely. Now coming to your second question, Supriya, we know technically the reason why the 737 MAX should in fact be grounded, and that was what drove us to take this decision, because we were technically very sure of that matter. And until that matter is fully addressed by the aircraft manufacturer, by the airlines in terms of their training and in terms of their systems. And of course, we make sure that all regulators are comfortable with the measures that are undertaken. Until those things are all in place, and it's a dynamic process obviously, we will not allow the planes to operate. We've just gone through the NEO situation, where again, because of certain safety issues, we grounded the engines, we repaired the engines, and then once those engines were repaired, they were allowed to go back in operation again. We will follow a similar procedure with the 737 MAX also. But like I said, that the safety experts, the technical experts know clearly what the issue is. If we want to, we can get into that in detail, but the technical experts know exactly what the issue is. That has to be addressed before the plane is ready to fly again.
So two quick last questions. A lot of security experts and aviation safety experts that we've been talking to blame the MCAS or the MCAS software system on that count. Is that so easily repairable? Is that what Boeing is telling you?
What the technical experts have told us is that there is an issue with the MCAS system that has in fact resulted very, very clearly as it comes to the Lion Air situation in a stall. As far as the Ethiopian situation is concerned, that is still being investigated. The black boxes have just gone to the US, so they're looking into exactly what happened there. So we don't know for certain as far as the Ethiopian situation is concerned. But purely on the Lion Air matter, it is clear that the MCAS has to be upgraded. There has to be a software patch that has to be provided for that. And that, in fact, is what Boeing is planning to do. And that's what we have to go through before those planes get certified to fly again.
No, fair point indeed. A quick last question, sir. 23 Air India planes not flying due to wear and tear. Indigo has cancelled 30 flights daily due to pilot shortage. We've already seen Jet ground 54 of its fleet of 119. Go Air also not operating some planes. Club this with the Boeing 737, the SpiceJet aircraft being grounded. As somebody who is a very, very keen stakeholder in this entire aviation story, and as somebody who wants the Indian aviation story to be pushed, is this a huge pocket of turbulence for Indian aviation?
This is, of course, a situation where we have to address multiple issues at the same time. We have the NEO engine issue, we have the 737 MAX, we do have some challenges commercially with some of the airlines. So all of these factors have come together. But again, as I said, we are fortunate that this is happening in the lean season so we can absorb that disruption. And again, when we think to the future, there's lots of capacity coming in. I want to put some of this in context for you as well, Supriya. Right now, we have 700 planes that are operating, commercial planes that are operating. The total number of planes that are impacted right now is in the region of about 70 to 80. So about 10% of the capacity is impacted right now. Again, because of the lean season, we can absorb that. And then, of course, the goal would be to be able to bring these planes back in operation within the next month or two and to keep adding extra capacity. So that's really the situation we are in right now, but it is about 10% of the total capacity of the system that is being impacted right now.
Okay, on that note, Mr. Jayant Sinha, thank you very, very much for sparing time and speaking to us right here on ET Now on an ongoing issue, one that has made headlines. The regulator has acted, and hopefully we'll go through this lean season and we will have capacity return to the Indian skies very soon so that the consumer continues to fly, but fly safely. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha, for being with us. On that note, we'll take a really quick breather right here on ET Now, and we come back with a fascinating discussion where we put the spotlight on this very issue and we discuss the safety of our flyers in the Indian skies, the decision of the DGCA, and of course what happens to the aviation space, what happens to fares, and how should one be watching out for those.